Hey everybody, welcome to TIW Podcast. I'm Eric, and with me today is Maggie, and we are going to be talking about books. Uh,
Yeah.
yeah. So Maggie has read the new Hunger Games book, The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes,
hmm
and I am going to be talking a little bit about Hill House Comics, which is a series of horror comics published by DC.
Just for clarification for everyone, I know absolutely nothing about superheroes.
Luckily, these particular comics have nothing to do with superheroes.
But they're still in the DC universe, right?
They're published by DC, but they are their own thing. So
Okay.
it's like it's like I don't know what to compare it to.
That's fine. I
It's
approve
just their
then.
own thing. They like you don't get cameos from any superheroes or anything like that.
Okay, I like that.
Yeah. So you are a big reader.
hmm I
You've
am. I always read before this year. I was trying to read 80 books because I didn't have enough confidence in myself to set my goal at 100. But I am currently six ahead of my goal right now, according to Goodreads. So who knows? Maybe I'll get to 90. Um, this goal was set before quarantine, even, but I've done a lot of reading in quarantine. And my coworkers are big into books as well, so they made me get on Goodreads, and we have a books Slack channel where we all talk about what we're reading, and they read a ton of like old school sci-fi, and I'm not
mm,
100% into that, but someday some book will come across the books channel that seems interesting, I bet, and I
you
will read
should
that.
try Starship Troopers.
Starship Troopers. That sounds super sci-fi.
It is. It's well, there's a movie. The movie is amazing, but the movie is
Okay.
very different from the book.
Okay.
But they're both great.
Not so in doesn't I'm not so into that, I think. Just based
But
off the name. I do really like books set in space,
mhm,
but I don't love like traditional science fiction so much.
right.
Like
Uh,
love space books.
I can't remember specifics about the book. I don't even know if I remember reading the book, but it is about the military and stuff. But it's like
Mm.
commentary. It's like anti-military.
Mhm.
So I don't know. It's for anyway. We're getting sidetracked.
It's
Um,
fine.
you're on Goodreads.
I am on
I
Goodreads.
I'm on. You should see if it recommends me. I never log on to it, but it's
Oh.
tied to my Facebook, so it might like.
Oh, I can try and figure out how to search for you. I have like two Goodreads friends. They only made me get on it so that they can track my reading challenge, I think. I
Oh, I
think they
see.
just want to see if I can do it, which I can.
Yeah.
But it's pretty fun. We also have like a business book club, so sometimes books pop up on there that are uh, like leadership themed. But we sometimes on Fridays get together and have like business Zoom book club at work, which I actually really like. So
That's
it's like a
cool.
plethora of things over there. Read a lot of fiction,
Nice.
but that's where
Um.
we're.
Yeah. Well, I just pulled up my Kindle app for the first time in a long time,
Oh.
and it
hmm
prompted me. It was like, "What is your book goal?"
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah. They
so
want you to set a goal.
yeah, so I did not set one because I was just trying to download a sample of the book that you read.
Mm-hmm.
And then I only read the first page. But before we get into that, um, I read comic books mainly.
Yes.
I read very few actual books because they are a lot of words, and I prefer. I don't have very good attention span. So if it's something that I can't get done in, well, most comic books I can read in just like 10 minutes or
hmm
less. And then general, I don't like doing very many things that take more than an hour. So that's why I don't get to reading a whole lot of books. But I didn't prepare. I'll probably think of some books that I have read recently. Or not recently, as just necessarily. The last book that I finished reading was Micro by Michael Crichton.
Oh, I like Michael Crichton.
Have you read Micro yet?
I have not. I think that I've only read Flight something. Let me look it up
Flight
really
Plan
fast.
looks pretty. It sounds pretty close. I haven't read that one. The only ones that I read Congo like in sixth grade, and it was right before we read it right before the movie came out.
Mm.
And we were way into it. Like there was like four or five of us who read it for our class, and then we like recreated the movie like in like a green belt next near one of our houses, and so like one of us was the gorilla, and it was a whole thing. So
Hmm. I was totally wrong. It's called Airframe.
Airframe. That's kind
I
of
liked it very
close.
much.
That's
Yeah.
close enough.
Yeah. I mean, it was a long time ago that I read it, but I liked it.
I gotcha.
I've never read like Jurassic Park or anything.
I think I started reading the first Jurassic Park, but it was there. All of his books are very long,
Yes.
and they have a lot of detail, like technical detail in them. He did a
Mhm.
lot of really good research for all of his books, from what I understand. I didn't
Yes,
like
that's what
fact
I thought.
checked or anything, but oh, that's how you felt about Airframe.
Yeah, I just like remember feeling very into the story. I'm looking now, and my coworker who is on the Goodreads the most rated it 2 stars, so maybe
Uh
I'm wrong, but I liked it.
Yeah, I really liked Micro. It was like uh, it was like Jurassic Park meets Honey I Shrunk the Kids,
Hmm.
and it was really cool. But it took me forever to read. I started reading it on tour, and I was driving. So I was driving
Mm.
that year.
Hmm.
So I didn't read it very often. I would read like 10 pages at a time here and there because I can't read that while I'm driving.
Well, yeah, I would
Um,
hope not.
or I can't read anything while I'm driving. I can listen to
The
stuff.
marimbas need to be safe.
Yep. Well, my truck didn't have marimbas on it, but
Okay, well,
the speakers needed to be safe and the drum
yeah,
set.
way more important.
Um. Uh. So yeah, I read a lot of it, but then when the summer ended, I I was driving for Uber and Lyft at for a while there, and so I had that book. That was my book that I would read when I'm just like waiting to get rides and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And
There's a crazy dog outside. I don't know if you can hear him.
yeah, I can hear him a little bit.
That's
That's all right
crazy.
though. It's
Okay.
going wild. It took me so long to read it. I don't even remember how it took me well over a year to
Oh,
finish reading it
wow.
because I would only read it when I was in my car and only when I was like waiting for rides. But I
Yeah.
also had like my Kindle Fire with like movies downloaded on it and stuff too. So
And
I
you'd
was
rather watch movies.
much more likely to do that. But
Yeah.
yeah, I'd recommend Micro. It was finished posthumously.
Oh.
So he did not finish writing it before. I mean I think he finished writing it, but it wasn't hadn't gone through the editing process and stuff
Hmm.
before he passed away. But
Oh, it
also
sounds super good.
yeah, it's really cool. But Westworld, he wrote and directed the movie,
Oh.
the original movie from the 70s,
Okay.
and then they of course the HBO show is awesome. So I
Yeah, I
recommend
know
that.
nothing about Westworld except for they used to film a lot of it in my, like the last 3 years, the building that I worked
Oh
in,
yeah, that's right. That's right.
which is pretty cool. Sometimes you could peek in like the costume trailers that were outside. I do not work there anymore, but
They had a special feature for one of the because oh yeah, spoilers for Westworld a little bit.
sure. I'll never watch it.
The third you should watch it. It's amazing. But
Okay.
the third season takes the first two seasons take place within the theme park. So it's all like constructed
They're in a theme park?
places. Yeah, the whole thing is that there's robots.
Uh-huh.
So like Evan Rachel Wood, her character is a robot.
Spoiler alert.
No, you know that she's a robot. Um, but most of the third, so the first two seasons take place inside of the Westworld place, and it's like it's kind of like it was like a proto Jurassic Park story because he wrote and directed the film. So the original film is all about this stuff. It's a theme park, and there's robots that are called hosts, and then the humans are guests. And the hosts, they're not supposed. They're programmed to not hurt guests and all that kind of thing. Except they like become aware, and then they realize that they can take over or whatever.
Oh.
So that's basically the overall theme of the thing: is what is consciousness, and are these robots sentient beings and all that kind of thing. All
I
kinds of really
genuinely
cool.
had no idea that was what it was about, and that sounds kind of interesting to me. I think that I've only just seen like stuff on the internet about the Western scenes, and that doesn't appeal to me at all.
No, it's okay. You really.
And so then I was like, I don't want to watch this because I don't care about anything in the West, but I love a theme park, and I love like questions about morality.
Give the first episode a try.
Okay, I think I have HBO Max right now.
And I think you'll know in the first episode if you're gonna like it or not.
Okay, I will maybe try that after I'm done watching Heart of Dixie for the second time.
Oh, right.
Don't judge me.
Hey, I've been watching.
Rough.
I've been watching Storage Wars.
Oh, right.
And also Supermarket Sweep.
Oh yeah.
On Netflix from like the 80s. Because there's just like a season of it on there. Like I'll just put that on while I'm doing other stuff. It's so dumb, but like
we have totally devolved from anything that we were going to talk about, but I have to tell you something about Supermarket Sweep.
Okay.
So the high school that I went to was named after this family who made their money by starting like a grocery chain in Arizona.
Okay.
And we were named after this grocery store. Basically, it's like down the street was the grocery store. The school was called the name. So, and they were like, had classes with the kids of this family.
Okay.
The year before I started high school, so like I would have been in 8th grade, but the indoor drum line did a winter show called Supermarket Sweep, like all about grocery stores and this like grocery store chain. And I think it did pretty well, and it was definitely a joke for a long time, but I wonder if I could find it on the internet. I'll send it to you if I can.
That's awesome.
Supermarket Sweep, WGAZ 2005, I don't know what year, I don't know, some year like that.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've just been like watching the show, it's like a lot, there's some like wordplay, like trivia questions, but there's also like Price is Right, that there's like pricing questions, and there's like watching something so far in the future from it as far as prices go is so, there's like no frame of reference to know how much anything costs, like if you're to guess and stuff.
Everything's really cheap, right?
Yeah, because all the prices are so, like, one of the questions is like, which of these shampoos is more than $4?
Oh my gosh.
And they show like 3 shampoo brands that all 3 of them you've never heard of in the first place. And then how do you know which one as a watcher? But then like they all know. They're like, oh yeah, of course it's Farazepam or whatever.
Yeah.
It's like, yep, you all got it. You earned more time out on the supermarket floor or whatever. So anyway,
oh my gosh,
it's such a weird show to watch. But
quarantine is making us all so weird.
Yeah, and mostly I just can't focus on like a real show.
Oh yeah, I have watched so much Married at First Sight and so much 90 Day Fiancé. So no judgment from me.
Yeah, it's a lot of the new Big Brother season just started, I guess. I need to give that a try.
That doesn't appeal to me, but I'm sure it would if I started, but I shouldn't start.
Yeah, there's Big Brother has too many episodes. Survivor is great because it's only like 14 episodes at most.
Right.
Whereas Big Brother has approximately 70 hours of episodes each week or something like that. It's kind of like it's even worse than, well, it's not as bad here as the original, or not the original, but the UK version. The UK version has a daily show. So you have at least an hour
Mm.
every day, and then
The
like
UK, the UK's into that though, because isn't Love Island UK daily?
uh yes, it's daily here too though.
Oh, okay.
Love Island was, because it's only for 4 weeks, I think. So they can do it daily,
Mm-hmm.
but Big Brother here is only like 4 times a week instead of every day. But
Mm-hmm.
then they also have the life. It's ridiculous. But anyway, well, let's talk about this book. I don't think I said the name of the book at the beginning, I think.
Yeah. So some context here. I'm way behind, like months behind reading this book from like the popular time to be reading this book, which was May.
Oh, right, when it came out.
Yeah, but if you look at my Twitter and you will see that I like don't I still just like share my thoughts even if I know it's way out of like style, I guess, or like we're behind here. But this is what I'm up to because the library, you only get books so fast at the library, and
Mm,
I only get my books at the library because I don't want to pay for books, which I guess also I want to support the library, and you also
right.
want to support the library as well.
Yes.
So the library is great. I get the Kindle app on, or use the Libby app on Kindle.
Yeah.
And I got this book, and it was number 51 of my book journey to 80 books this year, which might be 100 books, depending on how fast I can read.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and we were just talking about it one day, and I don't know anybody else who's read it, and I have so many thoughts. And so we're going to chat about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Awesome. So I haven't read this book. I have not read the other Hunger Games books,
Did you see the
but
movies?
I have seen all the movies.
Oh, okay. That's all you need to know, I think.
And yeah, I think that's all. That's really all I bring to the table as far as the Hunger Games universe. So this is a prequel, right? Or is it a
Yeah.
sidequel?
No, it's a prequel. So some disclaimers.
Oh,
I do.
okay. I know. Before you get into it,
Okay.
what I was thinking of is the new Twilight book that's coming out. And
Oh,
that is a
yeah.
sidequel. It's from Edward's perspective or
It
something.
is.
And I
Mm-hmm.
am ashamed that I even remember his name. But
I'm ashamed that you know that also because I don't think that I told you, and I'm not going to read it. But
I don't know where. I think so. I don't even. No, no. You sent me that video of the Try Guys,
oh yeah,
the
because that video was
Twilight,
hilarious.
and they talked about it in there, and so I was
Oh, okay.
reminded a lot of. No, I don't think they talked about the new book, but that reminded me that the new book is coming or something.
And that character is name is Edward, which you would learn from that video. The Try Guys recreate scenes from Twilight is really funny, and I would recommend.
Well, I think tying this to comic books real quick is
Okay, go for it.
that what's his name? Who plays Edward? Robert Pattinson.
Yes.
He was a bat. Not a bat. He was a vampire, which is usually associated with bats. I don't think they turned into bats in Twilight.
No,
But
they just like sparkled and
yeah,
glowed in the sunlight.
but he is playing Batman in the next Batman movie.
He
So he
is.
is two Batmen. He's playing. He's reprising his role as a Batman. But
Yeah, that's clever.
so anyway, okay. I'll back to the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes.
Okay, yeah. So I don't think that I think that this book was good. Like, or any of these Hunger Games books were good. I liked
Yeah.
them when they came out. I was like a lot younger. I thought they were fun. It was like when dystopian fiction was becoming quite popular, and I was very into it, and I'm still like pretty into it. But then this book was coming out, and then everyone learned that it was a prequel about evil President Snow, like as a
Hmm.
teenager, basically. So just for
Okay.
like your own context, like you know the guy played by the Sutherland guy,
Yeah, Donald Sutherland. Yeah,
Donald
he's the president.
Sutherland. He's
Yeah.
President Snow, so he's
Yeah.
like evil AF, like in the future. Like
Right.
he's the worst.
But
And
is he's like he's not evil yet in this?
Well, he isn't great,
Okay.
but it's like his origin story is like
Okay.
this. So I think that
Is there
the the Hunger Games are like when the actual book happens, it's like in the 70s, like 74th or 75th or something Hunger
right.
Games. And this is like the story of the 10th Hunger Games,
Oh wait,
which
was
also
he
means
is he
he's
in it?
so old.
Right, that would mean he's at least he's a because he's a teenager, so
Yeah, he was like
he'd be like 80,
17.
right?
Yeah, so he's like 85 when he dies, or spoiler alert, I guess, but he's old.
Yeah.
Like, I guess that's not even a spoiler because he's so old. Like,
Yeah.
he was bound to die. So yeah, in the movies, he's like really old. He's
Right.
like a senior in whatever their high school is in the Hunger Games universe.
Mm-hmm.
And he is basically like the story, without any spoilers, is there's this school and it's like the premier academy and a certain number of students. Well, okay, no, let me backtrack a little bit. So the Hunger Games, not
Okay.
doing so hot.
Okay,
People don't
wait.
like to watch them. Oh, we're going back. Okay, sorry,
Okay,
sorry, sorry.
wait. So you're telling that this book takes place in a high school?
Kind of.
Okay. I was just kind of wondering like it what you're describing so far sounds to me like they're like, okay, let's do a Hunger Games, except let's throw some Harry Potter school aspect into it, kind of
A
thing.
little bit.
Okay, continue.
Yeah. So
Sorry.
like basically they're in the capital, and it's like a few years after the war that
Hmm.
they keep referencing in like the normal Hunger Games where the districts rebelled against the capital, and now they do the Hunger Games because they need to like remind the districts that this is what happens when you rebel. So they've been doing the Hunger Games for a couple of years now, so it's like the 10th year, and people are not interested in watching because
Uh huh.
it's horrible, right? Like
Yeah.
it's just not nice, and no one wants to watch it, and no one in the districts has TVs to watch it. It's like not doing what they wanted to do. So
Right.
they need to figure out a way to get better ratings.
Okay.
So and then back then, like they didn't have all the fancy like arena tricks. They just kind of like threw them
It was
with
like
weapons
early
into like a
Survivor.
stadium. Yeah, like super primitive Survivor, Australian
No
outback,
immunity
Borneo.
idols.
Yes,
No.
pre-Guatemala.
Yeah.
Um, so they take these kids from this high school. They're like these elite. They're all like children of the elite families of the capital,
Hmm.
and they decide they're going to be mentors. So like in the future Hunger Games, the former victors are the mentors to the new tributes.
Right.
I think those are all the right words. But in the past, they had just thrown these tributes in with no help.
Right.
And now
Like a
they're going to
Boston
have these.
Rob and
Yes, yes. So now they're going to have a Boston Rob and Sandra, Island of the Idols style, helping these tributes, and whoever wins, the mentor like gets prizes. Basically, like it's these kids, they're competing for money as long as their tributes stay in the longest.
right.
So he's one of those mentors,
Gotcha.
and he gets this person who he kind of like, who's very popular. She's very like Katniss-esque, but in
Hmm.
like a very nice way, like not as much of a like gruff way, but she's just like very like she's like a singer. She's kind of like manic pixie dream girl esque,
Hmm.
and he finds a way to like help her, and then they kind of fall in love, which is kind of like a what is that phrase? Is it like Stockholm syndrome? Like who really knows? And then it kind of goes on from there.
I see.
That's the overarching premise, and that's why people have so many problems with it. Is
Wait.
because
So Snow
yeah,
is going into the Hunger Games.
no, he's a mentor.
Oh, he's a ment.
Yeah, to this like manic pixie dream girl.
Oh, okay. So she's in the Hunger Games.
She has
Was
to go.
he ever in it?
No, because he's like from a powerful capital family.
Oh, okay. So it's the elite
Yeah,
people. They are
yeah,
the mentors
yes.
because they haven't had enough people who have won it to be the mentors yet, really.
Well, they hadn't even thought of any of these ideas.
Right. this is just their first time doing that. I
Yeah,
see.
they're like, well, maybe this will get us better ratings. And
So
that's
are
kind
they
of where they
so
came up with
so
a lot of this new Hunger Games things. Like these kids were like, well, what if we bet on them and like send them prizes in the arena like they do in the future when like
right.
Katniss needs the medicine for PETA, things like that.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So back to the problem that everybody had with it, or
Oh, yeah.
many people had with it.
Yeah, yeah. Well, first of all, no one really cared about hearing Snow's origin story because we
Right.
all know how he ends up, and like you don't even really care. Like you don't care about him in the books later. You just know that he's evil, and like who cares, right?
Yeah.
Second, the whole love story thing between him and her name's Lucy Gray. His like this is not really a spoiler because it happened so early, and like his mentee, his like Victor.
Yeah.
It's like he was evil. They kind of fell in love, but like, did they really fall in love? Was it Stockholm syndrome? Like, is it love when you're reliant on this person to try and save your life?
Right.
Like, that's kind of a weird power dynamic.
Yeah.
And, uh, but I like just could not stop thinking about it. Like,
So,
this book, like, I don't think it was very good, and it was over 500 pages long. And like,
oh my
all I
gosh.
did for those like 4 days that I was reading it was think about this story.
Yeah. So I was going to ask about the Hunger Games books in general. Do you
Yes.
oh, so just from first glance on the first page, like it was like all so many of the things that I don't like about a lot of books
Okay.
like this, like just like the way that it's written and stuff like that. It was
Yeah.
like, oh yeah, I don't think I would enjoy reading more of this. So that kind of thing.
Mhm.
Not to be like, I'm not. I don't know. I feel bad saying negative things about anything,
No, no, I think that's totally
um,
fair.
but like, would you say so? For example, I don't mind talking about the Dexter books. You've watched Dexter, right?
I have not,
Oh wait, I thought you had. Okay, anyway,
but I know about it.
so no spoilers about Dexter at all, but the first season and the first book were basically the same. There
Okay.
are some differences, and then they kind of are completely different after that, because the TV show went in a different direction. So,
Hmm.
but I tried reading the books, and I read the first one, which I mean, I think I was only really able to do it because it was the same. So I was like reading it for the similarities and stuff. But once it was a different story and stuff, I didn't really, I didn't like how it was written, and like I couldn't really get past that part of it.
Hmm.
And so I think I maybe finished the second book. I can't remember. But I didn't keep reading after that one.
Okay.
But anyway, but going from that, like the ideas in the book, and a lot of them, it seems like a lot of books now are written as like, oh, I have this really great idea, and if I get published, etc., then they can make a movie out of it, and the movie's going to end up being a lot better because it's a movie.
Right.
And would you say that with the Hunger Games books, it's that kind of situation where like the overall ideas of it are really cool, and that you enjoy the overall story, but it's like the details and like the uh, and that kind of thing that aren't very good?
Yeah, I think that's a really good way of describing it that I hadn't really thought of before because I definitely like the world and I
Mm-hmm.
think it's the Hunger Games are very compelling as like horrible as it is. Like we love a good train wreck
Yeah.
um and I like how much time it's spent in the districts and like we got to see a lot more of District 12 and like that's the district that Katniss is from later and there
Mm.
was definitely like a lot of good Easter eggs and stuff but I do think that like knowing what they created in the world was made it probably more interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Like I could just keep reading books set in that universe, but like I don't really care about like the part that it was snow particularly.
Right. Like the stuff that happens in this book, is that stuff that's referenced in the other books? Like is it established that he did that, he was the mentor or whatever in the early Hunger Games?
No, I don't think so. I've done like a lot of research since then because I was wondering, like, did the author Suzanne Collins just like decide all of this? Because I was thinking,
Yeah.
like, at the end they just totally erase all footage of the 10th Hunger Games, and for the life of me, I could not remember if that was ever referenced in the books. And based on
Ah.
like articles I have read, I can't. Those are not the main Easter eggs that like the articles focus on. They focus on like the
Yeah.
songs and like because there's whatever Jennifer Lawrence sings a bunch in the movies, right? And like that
Right.
kind of stuff. And like the Mockingjays, they like hit that point home. You learn a lot about the Mockingjays in these books or in this particular book. But like it would be so cool if it had been. And maybe I'm totally wrong, but nothing I could find like said that this was the case, but it would have been so cool if in the main Hunger Games trilogy they had referenced like the 10th Hunger Games was the one like no one ever watched, completely erased. We know victors from all of them except for this one. And then
Right.
they went back and wrote a book about what happened in the 10th Hunger Games. Like that seems really compelling to me.
Yeah. And I was asking that because I was wondering would it have been because I feel like I would have wanted to see him in the Hunger Games.
Oh, for
Like if
sure.
he was in it and he won it,
Mhm.
then that could be like a big reason why he becomes what he is later.
Right. No,
Um
this was just like he was born into a family who cared a lot about appearances and who cared a lot about power. Then he
mhm.
lost a little bit of power because they lost the money, and then he just like wanted to do anything to get it back, which is like so boring because that's like
Yeah,
every powerful evil man ever.
right. And like if it was like that mentor they could have done the mentor relationship but had it flipped and like then that would have
Mm-hmm.
been I mean still pretty iffy but having the um uh him in the reliant position would have
Mm-hmm.
been a lot more interesting probably it seems
Agreed.
like.
Agreed. And I just I think that the shockers were like oh people were like oh well now we know why he hates Katniss so much and oh now we know why he hates District 12 so much like with and without spoilers like I just don't see that strong of a connection like it really seemed
Mm.
like it was grasping.
Yeah, and with that big of a time difference too, it like to have yeah, yeah. I think
So,
without having read it myself, from what you've
mhm.
described, I feel like it could have been a lot better.
Yeah, but I love the world and I
Hmm.
really liked a lot of the new characters and
Were there any other characters that were? I mean, he's like the only one that's really old. I remember from the movies.
yeah there's one other character which was really cool in like this maybe the third movie is the
Hmm.
third movie two parts I think it is.
The I don't remember how many movies there were.
Is
So
there four movies? I think there's four. But in like
there's
the
either four or
last part,
five.
okay, I think there's four. So in like the last one or two parts, Mockingjay Part One or Part Two,
Hmm.
there's a character who hides them at some point who looks like a tiger. And you probably don't remember this, and it took me a little bit to put it together.
Hmm.
But that character was like always kind of a mystery. She like owned a clothing fabric shop and then kind of like dressed uh, Jennifer Lawrence and maybe Liam Hemsworth, like to try and hide them in the Capitol or something. And
Mm.
that character is actually Snow's cousin, and they're
Oh,
really close in this prequel book. But
okay.
then at some point they have some kind of falling out, obviously, because she's helping the rebels in
Right.
Mockingjay, and we have no idea why. And like, I would like a book about her. Thank you very much.
Yeah, that would be cool.
Yeah,
So
super cool.
that was the only other character that is exists in both because of the time
And
difference, basically.
yeah, and the only other, but there's like references to the families that you like younger people in the families, and then
Oh,
it's
okay.
the 10th one is the first year that Stanley Tucci's family. So they never had an announcer like they did with I think his name was like Caesar Flickerman or something.
Right.
Stanley Tucci's character in
Yeah,
the Hunger
yeah.
Games. The 10th Hunger Games
The Tooch.
had a relative of his as the first announcer, and then they kind of like offhandedly say at the end, like, I think we'll bring him back too. And so then his
Okay.
family must be the announcers for like years and years, which is
Right.
like kind of also cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
I like him.
Yeah, I do too. There was definitely some things where I was like, "Oh, this is so fun," and like it's not also not a spoiler, but like it is a spoiler. But the internet is just like if you look up anything about the internet, it talks about like the Hanging Tree song that Katniss sings. Like
Mm.
you kind of get the origin story of that, and some of some of the songs in general, which like I liked. Other people were like, "This book is just full of songs. Like, who cares?" But I kind of like that, but. Generally, I thought most of it was a stretch, the connections.
Right. Yeah,
Too
yeah, like
many
the
years. 65-year difference is huge.
yeah, like so much. It's like okay, so we did another episode a couple years ago about the first Purge. Was it? It was the first Purge, right? It was the one with
Yeah, we really liked the first Purge. We saw that movie together, right?
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, we liked
we did
that
a
movie.
podcast right after it.
Yeah.
Like that was it's kind of the Purge movies are kind of similar in a way. It's not a game
Mhm.
show, but it's like this one event per year.
Right.
And the first couple of Purge movies were like the fifth or sixth year of it. So like that time difference, it's not so huge that it's like oh wait, like 65 years.
Hmm.
That would be what 1955.
Right.
So it like that's like doing I don't even know. That's such a long time for something like that to be happening
Agreed.
that
Like
it
it's hard to
is
wrap your head around the number of changes, and I think it was hard. Like the world, the time were like too similar, but like
mhm.
so much would have happened.
Yeah. Yeah. Like it's like too much time to believe that something that happened just this one time plays so much into the last one,
Right.
basically.
Especially like even small things
Or
like
not
in
last
oh,
one necessarily. Spoilers. I don't remember what happens in the last book, but
yeah, yeah,
in
yeah.
the last movie.
Right. And like the people in District 12 go to the same bar and it's called the same thing. And I'm like 65 years later, like, come on, you know?
Hmm.
This just all seems way too convenient.
Right. Although at the same time, stuff that like I guess in a way it's weird. Like so the last 100 years of real world
Mm-hmm.
stuff has like before the last 100 years, stuff changed very slowly.
Mm-hmm.
So it could be like that kind of aspect, like they're
Yeah.
like as far as development, like cultural development sort of thing, cultural and
Yeah.
technological development, they're like not on an accelerated path like the real world's is currently,
Mm-hmm.
but they are like really technologically advanced. Are they is in the time period of this book, do they still have like the technology that they have in the movies?
It's much more limited.
Mhm.
But it's so interesting because they do every once in a while reference the former United States. So this
Ah.
is theoretically like a world that happened after some kind of fall of our world.
Huh.
Yeah, which like
Did
I'd
they
love to hear more about that.
was that only first mentioned in this book? Or
I couldn't tell you.
um
Yeah, I don't know.
yeah, that's interesting. Cuz I
Yeah.
think the Maze Runner books do take place in a post-apocalyptic future.
Yeah, but they go really deep into that because there's so many prequels. And you
Oh,
get that one
right.
prequel that tells you like as it's happening,
Right.
which was awesome.
Yeah, that I still need to see the third movie. I have it in my library, but I haven't watched
Oh,
it
okay,
yet.
we should watch it. I don't think I've seen it either, but I've read all of the books.
Gotcha. And I
Yeah.
so when the second movie come out, the not Scorch Trials. What was the second one? The second one was Scorch Trials.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah,
So here in Denver, so I'm talking to the audience now, because you know about this because
yeah.
I
Okay.
got a book signed for you
Oh, yeah, I have them
by
here.
the author. Or
Yes.
no, did they sign the the trilogy, right?
A couple of them. I think I have like maybe two.
or like the first 2 or 3 that came
Yeah,
out.
yeah, yeah.
So yeah, I got a bunch of those signed, and my sister went with me to the screening of the movie and stuff, and that was really cool.
That
It's
is
one
cool.
of the couple of authors that I've met, and that I also met the author of The Last Unicorn,
The Last Unicorn.
and he signed a copy of. I still haven't read the book, but it was I think it came out in the
Oh,
70s.
an animated musical.
Oh yeah, the
Are we
movie.
looking at the same thing?
Yeah, the movie is an animated film. But it was originally a book by like Peter S. Beagle, I think. Or no, that's not his name. That's not his name. I'm thinking of somebody else. No, I think that is his name.
I don't know. Mia Farrow,
It
Jeff
is...
Bridges, Christopher Lee, Angela Lansbury.
Oh, you're still looking at the movie. It is
Heck
by.
yeah.
The book is by Peter S. Beagle. I did remember his name.
The Last Unicorn was nightmare fuel to a generation of kids.
When I met him, it was the first time I had ever seen the movie, but I saw the movie in the theater, and it was really cool.
This came out 10 years before I was born.
Yes, that's right.
This is why I've not seen The Last Unicorn.
It's also why I haven't seen it before, because it came out 3 years before I was born.
Oh, look at us.
Yeah. We found something that predates both of us.
Nice.
So overall, would you like the book? You like the universe?
Yeah, I do like the universe. I like the universe more than I like the book.
Right.
I think that's the conclusion I've now come to.
What you like about the book is because you like the universe.
Yes, I think that is a really good way to put it. I can tell you what I rated it on Goodreads if you care.
Sure.
My books. Well, come on, internet. Okay. These are in order. I gave it 4 stars.
Is that out of 5?
It's out of 5. I'm a very generous rater.
Yeah.
I learned that one of my coworkers likes to average out their yearly rating to a 3, which I think is really harsh. But I do give 3 stars, and I've given 1 2-star, I think.
That seems like it's putting a lot of thought into it to have normalize your scores.
Yeah, I'm just like, hey, I've given 2 stars.
There was you want a book about his sister, his cousin?
Yeah, I want a book about his cousin. I want books about more people's Hunger Games. Like, just give me. Let's see what happened between 11 and 74.
What do you think about they're definitely going to make a movie out of this book. What do you think of the possibilities of that? And no, never mind. Kiefer Sutherland is way too old to play teenager. But how awesome would it have been if a teenaged Kiefer Sutherland played his dad?
That would be very cool. I don't know who I would think who would play him. Definitely someone like evil, like Tom Felton, if Tom Felton was younger. Like Draco Malfoy, you know.
I could see them like just finding. It would be a great chance to find new faces for that.
I agree.
And hopefully they do.
And in my mind, I pictured him as British, but I don't think that is a thing.
Right.
Yeah.
So the character BT?
Yeah, what's that
in the
character?
Movies?
Yeah.
So the actor who plays him, he is Jeffrey Wright. He is in Westworld.
Oh, okay.
And he's a major character in that. So if you like him, I like him way more in Westworld than in The Hunger Games.
He was like a good character, but not like a huge character.
Yeah, he was just kind of there to do some stuff.
And like he had a counterpart, like a similar counterpart character in this one. It's like the author didn't really spend that much time coming up with anything new.
Right. It was just like all the same roles from the other Hunger Games that
Yeah,
happened.
like here's your technologically savvy tributes, and here's
Mm,
your like Manic Pixie Dream Girl tribute, and here's your strong tributes, and that kind of thing.
right, right. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's a bit disappointing. That it
yeah,
sounds like the kind of thing that just like anybody could write. You
yeah,
would hope that the original author would do something innovative with.
yeah. Like it was a little fan fictiony.
So you have read a bunch of books since then, but I want to
Hmm.
close with that.
Okay.
We're going to switch gears over to comic books for just a couple minutes. Okay, so I have been reading these books. There's 5 different titles under the imprint. It's kind of an imprint,
Okay.
or under the label of Joe Hill Presents Hill House Comics.
Oh yes, I'm on the website.
And
Turn a new page in fear.
yeah, it's all horror comics. And they're two of the books are written by Joe Hill, who created the comic books Nosferatu and Lock and Key. Both of those books are TV shows. I have not watched
Lock and
either of
Key.
those.
I almost started watching Lock and Key, and then I didn't know if it would be interesting to me.
I've heard it's very good. I don't
Okay.
know anything about it. I don't know what the premise is or anything like that.
Me
But
either.
I've heard that it's good. That the TV show and the comic is very good. Nosferatu is like a vampire thing, and
Okay.
it is on AMC, and I
Okay.
think it stars what's his name? He's Spock. He's the new Spock in the movies. Zachary Quinto. I'm
Yeah, I lied.
pretty
Yeah,
sure
that
that's him.
guy.
What's that?
Yeah, that guy.
Yes, that guy. He's also in the American, like a lot of the seasons of American Horror Story, I think. Um,
Mm.
but I only watched the first season of that. But anyway, Nosferatu I've heard is also very good, but I haven't had a chance to watch it yet.
It's
Anyway,
so the new one's a remake of a
the
1922 horror silent movie.
kind of yes.
Fun fact.
It's based on Nosferatu, which was the silent movie.
Okay, cool.
It's a play on that,
Okay,
but
I like that.
it's
Okay, sorry, I'm
yeah.
sidetracking.
I haven't watched Nosferatu because it's his license plate number, or at least the graphically that's how they do it on there. So it's like a whole play on. So anyway, the point is that Joe
Mhm.
Hill has created other really good stuff in comics that has been turned into TV shows. Some of this stuff I could definitely see becoming TV shows. So there's 5 books in this first run. I don't know if they're going to do more later, but
Mhm.
it is really like kind of ambitious thing because there's these 5 series: Lola Woods, the Dollhouse Family, Basket Full of Heads, Daphne Byrne, and Plunge. He wrote Basket Full of Heads and Plunge, and then he was like kind of like the executive producer, sort of. If you were, it would be that equivalent if there were TV shows.
Mhm.
For the other books, for the other 3. So some of them have finished, and 2 of them, Daphne Byrne and Plunge, they still have one more issue to go. And I think that I don't know if you would necessarily enjoy the comics,
Okay,
just as far as them being comics,
sure.
but they are very interesting. My favorite is Plunge, and I just
Okay.
read the latest issues of Daphne Byrne and Plunge before our call tonight, and Plunge is my favorite because it's a lot like, it's not like Lost, but it has a lot of similarities that
I
they.
knew you were gonna say it's my favorite because it's like Lost.
Yeah, because you read the synopsis of it already, didn't you?
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So I'll read, how about you read the synopsis of the
Okay.
Plunge, or just the
Plunge.
yeah.
There's something terribly wrong with them, and then the storm closes in. The research ship Darlith disappeared in the Arctic 40 years ago, so when its crew is found, why haven't they aged today? How did they become capable of feats of unbelievable mathematics? And for God's sakes, what happened to their eyes?
Yeah, so this the story starts with a ship that's going to recover that ship. It's assumed that the crew is dead, so they're like going to recover like the company's assets. So it also has some similarities to The Life Aquatic, which is my favorite Wes Anderson film, like hands down. But because there's the company stooge. Have you seen The Life Aquatic?
I have not.
Oh,
It's like
okay.
the only Wes Anderson I haven't seen.
Oh, it's the best one.
I know.
But anyway, there's a guy. They don't call him the company stooge in this book, but in Life Aquatic, there's the company stooge who's like keeping them on track and on budget and stuff, because of the last research trip that they went to or whatever. But so there's some similarities to that. That there's this company guy who's like calling the shots that are different from what the captain thinks is best and all that kind of thing. So I like that it has that aspect to it, but then it's all this very like sci-fi horror stuff going on.
Yeah, that sounds super interesting.
And they can't contact anybody outside, and it's really cool. I don't know. I've only read the first 5 issues. I think the 6th issue might have come out last week or tomorrow, but
That's the last one, right? It's a 6.
yeah.
Cool.
Yep,
That sounds
exactly.
interesting.
So I think that I think you would definitely enjoy that one. But the other ones are all pretty cool too. Daphne Byrne, I'm the least into. I think she sees ghosts or something. I don't remember exactly.
You don't even know.
And
You
I
just read it.
Yeah. It also some of these I read them out. I accidentally read them out of order. Daphne Byrne was one of them that I read like issue number 4 and then 3 and then 5. Because they come out like a month apart, and so the stacks of books get out of order sometimes.
Fair.
Lola Woods is really cool. If growing up doesn't kill them, their town will. It's like about a coal town, like an old mining town, and like the earth. There's like it keeps like fissures open up into the earth and stuff because of all the mining and everything. Except there's like a supernatural element to it, which is really cool. Dollhouse Family is very weird, but it's about like souls that are captured in this dollhouse sort of thing. And then
there's nothing scarier than scary dolls.
Yeah, it's some really messed up stuff happens in that one, but really messed up. But also my second favorite, I guess it kind of works out that it's also a Joe Hill, the other Joe Hill book, is Basketful of Heads. Do you want to read the description of this one?
Yeah, we got killers have come to Brody Island. Heads are gonna roll when the peas there's a typo on this website.
Ooh.
When the piece of June Branch's lazy summer of 83 is shattered by a violent home invasion, she has to fight for her life with an ancient Viking axe that can impossibly decapitate a man in a single swipe. Only when this occult blade falls, the severed head lives on, alert, talking, and terrified.
Yeah, it's great.
It sounds like it's like that the head in Santa Clarita Diet.
Yeah. It's great. It's really funny. It's pretty gruesome. So the cover art that you see for that first issue, it does the same. So in movies, I don't really like when movies do like the pivotal moment of the movie, like at the beginning, and they're like, "Oh, let me tell you how we got to here," that kind of thing. They do that at the beginning of this, but it did make sense in the comic book form because you don't actually see, if not for that, you wouldn't see anything about the basket of heads in the first issue. So in this format, it made sense, but the picnic basket that she's holding is full of heads that she's decapitated. Although the axe that she's holding is not the Viking axe. That's just like a regular.
Yeah, that does not look like an ancient Viking axe.
So the axe in the story is a lot cooler than that. But yeah, those were my two favorite out of those. They're all Plunge isn't really bloody.
Okay.
There is I say that, but it actually is now that I think of it. It's not bloody in the same way as the other one, but yeah, I really liked all 5 of these. And then also there's like 4 pages of this Sea Dogs story.
Okay.
At the end of every book.
Oh.
So it's like 20 parts or something, however many issues everything ends up being. Because Basketful of Heads ended up being 7 issues. So what is the math of that? What's 6 times 5? 6 times 5 plus 1. 31?
Yeah, 31.
So the Sea Dogs thing is a 31 part story. But I haven't read any of it because it is a 31 part story. I want to just read it all.
That makes sense because you get them because you're reading them out of order and kind of
Exactly. And with the pandemic, the release schedule got kind of messed up for the last like 6 or so issues of them collectively.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if they even ended up coming out in the correct order that they would have. Like the order that across all 5 books, the order that they came out matched with the order of Sea Dogs.
Mm-hmm.
But then it got messed up once everything, or it might not have gotten messed up. They might have been able to keep it still in the same order, but there were a couple of them that came out the same week and stuff. But yeah, that's one of the many comics. Most of the other comics I read are like Supergirl and Batgirl, but you don't. Yeah, I think you would be much more likely to be interested in these ones.
Yeah, these sound super interesting. I had no idea. I just learned a lot.
So yeah, that's it for the comic section of this episode. But you also read a bunch of other books, and I want to hear about them.
Cool. Yeah, we planned this like back when I was only at 51 books, and now I'm on my 55th book.
Mm-hmm.
But I also read. Let me go to my little phone app because I also keep track of it on my phone because I'm old school.
Mm-hmm.
In a note on the Notes app.
Yeah.
I read a pretty dumb book called Love Her or Lose Her by Tessa Bailey because I needed to decompress from the Hunger Games with something light and fluffy and romantic.
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of liked it. You would hate it. It was about this couple and they like been together forever and they were not connecting and the wife wanted a divorce and like then they went to this kind of like new agey therapist guru that helps them, find themselves again. Great.
Right.
Then I read Untamed by Glennon Doyle, which is a memoir. Glennon Doyle, my understanding is that this is her 3rd memoir. Her first one is kind of like about her and her family and religion and like finding her way to family and Christianity after a life of like addiction and eating disorders and things like that. And then so she had this like perfect like she has 3 kids and a house and a husband, and then she met this soccer player named Abby, whose last name I cannot remember, and then she realizes that she like is in love with Abby, and then they get divorced and she marries Abby, and now they have this life, and so like this is her like first memoir, like after she kind of like decided to like live her life, and it was very good. Lots of women are recommending it. Emma Watson said we all should read it. I had many thoughts about it. Also, I talked to my mom about it for a long time because it covered a lot of like female mother-daughter like things that women face and stories about like what you should do and what you want to do and like motherhood and family, and very nice. Liked it way more than I thought I was going to. Emma Watson is right. You should read that.
Nice. What was the name of that book again?
Untamed.
Untamed.
Yeah, by Glennon Doyle. It's a memoir.
Gotcha.
And then over the weekend I read this other kind of romancy book called Love Lettering, which also sounds really dumb, but I loved it. And it was about this hand letterer, which is very trendy right now in New York, hides secret messages in her clients' letter, like art, like programs, whatever. And then she hid a message in this wedding program that spelled out mistake, and the groom caught it, and then comes to her one day and it's like, how did you know that my marriage was going to fail or my
Uh-huh.
relationship was going to fail? And then they obviously fall in love.
Oh,
So it was great. 10
I
out of
see.
10 would recommend. Now I am
Well,
reading shows.
the lettering
Oh,
stuff and hidden things is like I like all that stuff. Do you get to see any hand lettering in the book?
on the Kindle version, no, they like bolded some things, which makes me think that maybe in like a paper version, yes.
Ah, okay.
But it was cool. I mean, I love New York. They like did a lot of walking in New York and talking about New York signs, but it ultimately was like, a women's literature, like, nice romance book. But I really liked it more than I thought I was going to. I love New York, and they're like, I love the like Wall Street area and like the South Seaport area, and they're in that part of town a lot, and
I
it's
see.
like, yeah, so very nice. That was a good weekend, like Sunday lane read. And now I'm currently reading. It's called Chosen Ones. It's the first adult audience book by the author of Divergent.
Oh, okay.
And yeah, and I tried to get it on Kindle like weeks ago, but they didn't have a Kindle version available when it became available for me to read, so I like just returned it, and now they have a Kindle version on Libby, and it's this situation. They're in Chicago. It's 10 years after the fall of the Dark One, who like killed all these people. There were five like chosen ones via this prophecy who helped kill the Dark One, and it's like what they're doing 10 years later, like how you cope with that, and it's something bad is going to happen, and like probably the Dark One's back or something. But
Uh-huh.
so far I'm like 30% in so far. Very interesting.
Is it wait, where does it take place again?
Chicago.
It's Chicago. So it's
It's like present day Chicago.
okay, and so is this like magic stuff?
Yeah, it is magic.
Okay, so not
hmm
so it's present day magic dark one.
Yeah, and it seems like there's this, 'cause it's set in 2020.
Mhm.
It seems like there's this agency that deals with the supranormal. So, like, magic's kind of all with us, but we don't really know how to control it. And then these
Okay.
prophesied people, they were like teenagers when they killed the Dark One. They all have these, like, magic. They went out during their mission and found magical objects that spoke to them. And so they, like, use those to kind of channel magic, but no one's really like a wizard. They're not like wizards by any means. It's like, the thought that maybe in the world there is magic that, you can harness somehow, stories, that kind of thing.
I see.
So it's like not too far off of reality.
Interesting.
So far,
Interesting.
very interesting. I'm like 30% in, I think.
And that is it, but it's that is the first adult novel by the author of
Yeah.
The Divergent series.
Yeah, she wrote all those Divergent books, and then she wrote this other one called Carve the Mark, and then the sequel was called Fates Divide, or maybe it was the opposite way. And I read the
Mhm.
first one and was like not too interested, and then didn't read the follow up. And
Okay.
then now it's this Chosen Ones book, which I'm very into.
Gotcha.
I personally liked the Divergent books more
Mhm.
because maybe because I liked the main romance more. I don't know.
Uh-huh.
But yeah,
There is a
but I don't know how it would do. Like, I don't think it needs more books. Like, I definitely think the Hunger Games universe is maybe more interesting, whereas the
I
Divergent
see.
universe kind of wrapped up.
Right. It's like it's more of a contained story.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to remember. Oh, I can't even remember what happens. It's the Shailene Woodley is in that one, right?
Yeah, and if you never read the books, I don't even think you got the full story because I don't think they made the last book or the last part of the movie or whatever.
Oh, that sounds about right. And
Yeah.
I very easily got the Maze Runner and Divergent stories like mixed up.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
Especially after the first one, it's easy to remember what Maze Runner is because it's the one with the maze. But
Right.
once they leave, spoilers, they leave the maze at the end
Yeah.
of the first one. Um, the other the other books, that's when I get them mixed up, because that's the one Giancarlo Esposito is in the Scorch Trials, right?
Yes.
And maybe the movie after that, I don't remember, but
I don't remember either.
So yeah, I did really like both of those movie series.
Me too. I like any of that kind of stuff. I'm not super picky.
So that was the latest book that you read.
I'm reading it now.
You're still in progress.
Yes.
Gotcha. Nice. That does sound pretty cool.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, so far it's better than I thought it was going to be. So.
Yeah. I'm gonna have to. I have my library card, but I don't have it hooked up to the whatever digital service that they have, which I know they have.
Mm-hmm.
So I should figure that out, and so that I can spend less money on. Because I think you can also do comics.
Yeah, you can do tons
comics.
of stuff. I used to spend so much money on books, and then I discovered the library.
Mostly, it just takes up a lot of room.
Right, that's true. That's why I Kindle.
I think that's it. So
yeah.
That was that book that you talked about and the books that I talked about.
Was this interesting? Was this not interesting? I thought it was interesting.
Yeah, let us know what you thought about these books. Cool. Well, thank you very much for joining me. Hopefully we can do more of these. Probably we'll have it more streamlined.
Yep.
And if anybody has recommendations for, you probably have a whole bunch of books on your list to already read.
No, it's getting so small. I need recommendations.
Okay, so add micro to there.
I like an hour ago I reserved it. It's available in 4 weeks.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah.
But if anybody else has recommendations for either of us, or if there's something that both of us would be interested in reading, that would be a good future episode. We'll probably figure something out for that anyway, but
let us know.
Let us know. You can tweet the show at TIW Podcast, or me at jkyer.
And just tweet Eric and he'll tell me, because I'm really not on Twitter anymore.
Yeah, that.
Yeah.
Go to TIW Podcast for more episodes. You can listen to our past episode. We did a whole bunch. How did we not? We somehow avoided talking about Walking Dead at all.
I know. We used to talk about Walking Dead on the podcast until I decided I hated The Walking Dead, and so we stopped that.
Yeah.
But there's a lot more from us if you'd love to keep hearing us talk.
Yes. Go search for the Today We Watched The Walking Dead to listen to those episodes. And we also did an episode, as we mentioned earlier, about the first Purge. Was it the first? No, it was Election Day. It wasn't the first Purge.
It was one of the purges.
Elizabeth
really
Mitchell. That's her name.
Oh, yeah. Election Day. We really liked that purge, though.
It was
great.
Saw
it together in the same place. So that was cool.
So you can go listen to those if you want to hear both of us talk more, or just listen to a bunch of other episodes if you want to listen just me talk. And hopefully we'll have more like this one.
Cool.
In the near future.
Thank you.
Thanks. Okay, that's the end.
Yay, we did it.